All righty. Welcome to another edition of Vegas Badboyz of podcasting. I'm DJ Impact, and I got Sin City Steve here and Matt Michaels here, and we are your Vegas Badboyz. And this is our 3 count. Thank you for hanging out with us. By all means, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, please jump in the chats. We love to hear what you have to say. And as we see fit, we will get the comments in there. All right. So thank you for hanging out with us. Let's get started. Count one from ringsidenews.com. It's titled, is that Rebby? Is that her name? Okay, Rebby Hardy explodes on Matt Hardy, hater slinging shade at AEW. Okay, and it goes a little something like this. AEW has a lot of eyeballs on him right now, and some fans love punching holes in anyone's boat, even if it's in the lake of reincarnation. A move that Matt Hardy executed on AEW Rampage rubbed one fan the wrong way, and they had to let Rebby Hardy know about it. Of course, Queen Rebecca didn't take that well. One fan boldly tweeted out, quote, "I wonder how at Rebby Hardy explains manure Matt's botched elbow drop. Hashtag AEW sucks. Hashtag Matt Hardy sucks," end quote. This negative viewpoint was found by Rebby Hardy in her mentions, and Rebby Hardy didn't take this message well at all. In fact, she took this opportunity to shut that hater down in a huge way. She also called this hater for going out of their way to sling that shade. Now, it says here, imagine going out of your way like this to try to instigate some shit on the internet with somebody you don't know. LMAO, bitch, what? It seems that some fans just don't learn that Rebby Hardy keeps an eye on her Twitter mentions and don't tweet her unless you expect a response. In this case, the response was not one that this fan probably expected. Then again, some people might be looking for a response just like the one Rebby Hardy provided. All right. Matt Michaels, you're the one that came with this particular story. Tell us, what was your take on this when you saw it?
Well, my honest, reaction to this was very simple, and that was that this author, what the fuck, dude? People are like entitled to call people out when shitty fucking wrestling is going on. And I'm not talking shitty wrestling in terms of, yeah, okay, that match wasn't that good, or this person's not great, blah, blah, blah. When you have a future Hall of Fame person literally drop an elbow 5 feet away from the guy's fucking body, it was one of the saddest things I think I've seen, Matt Hardy ever do in his career.
Yeah.
It was also a horrible camera angle because they gave full on, scope where you can see that the elbow just like totally came nowhere near his body, not even nowhere near his head, just nowhere near the body, for God's sakes. Also, Orange was face down on the canvas. So usually when you drop an elbow and you pin a guy, they're on their back and you drop the elbow
right
on his chest. There were just like a whole bunch of things just not right with how this match ended. And on top of that, Jim Cornette actually had a little shout out for people who like to say how good AEW is. And his thing was, this is why wrestling is not considered real, is because of stuff like that. And the lumberjacks outside of the ring gave Orange Cassidy some of the most brutal, limp-wristed punches you'll ever see. Where you can see it's just the hand. I mean, the hand is just going like this.
Oh boy.
It was just really, really sad. And basically Cornette's thing was that people are just lazy. They don't care. They don't care enough to do things, including Matt Hardy. Now, the thing personally tagging Rebby was great. that was great because she is kind of, a little nuts when it comes to responding to fans who have anything negative to say. So the guy knew what he was doing. The guy knew he was going to be, making her, he was trolling her.
Right.
And so it's just ridiculous that in this day and age, when you see something on TV that is in front of your eyes, that the thought that you can't tag that person's wife who has other things to say about what's going on and how great her husband is, which is great, defending her husband, but at the same time, come on. I don't know, man. I think that we should all start tagging Rebby in every single post. Just everything.
I mean, Sin City, you probably can say that this person who shot her out maybe had some points. Yes, he was trolling, but he wanted to make himself clear on what happened. Maybe this could be looked at as stop half-assing it, do better next time. What's your take?
So the thing that I learned from this little Twitter spat and the fact that we're covering this on the show is that if I ever want to put over my Twitter account, then I just need to tweet something at somebody and then suggest it as a topic. Matt Michaels, I know that you fucking tweeted this shit out yourself. And now you're just fucking, oh yeah, let's just suggest this as a 3-count article. And now we're talking about it. So It's just putting you over. I mean, the hashtags gave it away. AEW sucks and Matt Hardy sucks. I know that shit's all you, bro.
Oh man, I wish I was only smart enough to tag Remy to get other people to pick up on it. That would have been great.
In all seriousness, so as was alluded to in this blurb on this site, this is definitely not the first time that Rebby Hardy has gone off on fans. She's done this numerous times, especially the last time that this happened was after the injury issue with Matt Hardy and AEW. And fans were talking shit about it and all that kind of stuff. Not only did she talk shit about AEW themselves, but also she was lobbing them up there to fans as they were, launching insults and talking shit and everything. At this point, I just have to give Rebby Hardy an A+ in trolling on Twitter because she is absolutely living her best life. And she is just going after these trolls by trolling them. So I got no problems with it. I just sit back and I laugh and insert the, one of the many popcorn eating gifts. And, that's me. I love a good troll session on Twitter. I love doing it myself. So, I'm cool with it.
All right. Well, let's get on to our second count. That comes from WrestlingInc.com, titled Bruce Pritchard on why the two-man booth is best for pro wrestling. And this is how it reads. On the latest episode of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, the director of both Raw and SmackDown, he spoke about the commentary booth on why he believes a two-man team is the best option. And Raw currently runs a 3-man booth with Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, and Jimmy Smith, while SmackDown has just Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And Pritchard mentioned why he's not a fan of 3 or more people on commentary, as well as arguing between commentators. Quote, "It sucks," end quote, Pritchard said about the infighting with commentators. Quote, "Realistically, two-man booth is the best in pretty much anything from football, wrestling, baseball. It's just hard to distinguish when you get beyond 2 guys that have any kind of chemistry at all. You get comfortable with, and they can tell stories without you stepping on each other. You add a 3rd man in the booth, much less. Oh God, I mean, a 3-man booth is difficult, and I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world any more than it is just waters everything down and makes it difficult for anybody to get a word in edgewise," end quote. And then after reading from Wrestling in the Ring, JBL took on the role of being a commentator for WWE and called several marquee matches. The WWE Hall of Famer was known as a very controversial and combative during his time behind the desk. Bruce Pritchard spoke about JBL during commentary and revealed how much of his comments were himself or Vince McMahon. And the director of Raw and SmackDown said JBL did his job, was meant to stir shit while doing WWE commentary. I say it's probably 70-30 JBL, Pritchard said. Looks, that's John's job to be controversial mouthpiece at the desk. That's what he did. He was controversial. He was meant to stir shit up. So that was his job. That was his character, and that's what he did. And that's the end quote there from all of that. All right. Sin City, before I go over to you, let me just throw in my 2 cents. I hear what he's saying. And yes, I do enjoy McAfee and Cole's commentary, but maybe I've just gotten so used to Corey and Byron's. I have come to enjoy hearing them going back and forth. And to me, it doesn't necessarily not allow Jimmy to still get in to sort of do whatever play-by-play that needs to be said. Now, I have seen where that can be difficult from maybe on the AEW side when they have 3 or more. I have like, wait, what's going on? You know, it's a lot of jumble there. So maybe the fact that Corey and Byron have been doing it so long, I know the main play-by-play has changed before Cole was there, but they have gotten really kind of used to knowing how to do that without stepping on to Jimmy. But in that case, I would say that it works. And so I agree, but I kind of disagree. It's, I guess, what I'm saying with Bruce. I guess it really would depend on the chemistry on that is really what it comes down to. But what's your take, Sin City? This was your story. You agree with Bruce or disagree?
I completely agree with him. And I found it extremely interesting that he is the director of both Raw and SmackDown. And he is voicing his extreme displeasure of having multi-person commentating booths. When that is a staple of Raw. That's something that they've done for quite some time. And I'm not a fan of the multi-person booth. Whether it's on Raw, whether it's on NXT, whether it's on AEW, where they have literally 20 people doing commentary from one week to the next. I think that it is jumbled. And it is easy for people, unless they have dynamic personalities, to get lost in the shuffle. I think that, having one person essentially make it their mission to just go after and lob insults at another color commentator, I'm not a fan of that. I think that, even I know that you were huge on Ring of Honor. I think that Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman, I think that they were probably one of the best commentating duos in professional wrestling. And I think that,
and they did sometimes have guests. They did have the third person, not as a regular that come on, but they did.
And that's the thing is when it's done where you bring in a guest commentator, I have no problems with that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that you're going to get, you're going to get your hamburger with your French fries. You're going to get your steak and your potatoes. You don't need another side dish in there to jumble things up. That's just my view on it. But I think I really, really wish that they could find a way to go back to a 2-person booth on Raw. I really wish that they could go to a 2-person booth on AEW. Which obviously would mean that they have to cut their commentating team in half if they went to 2, because they typically always have 4. And sometimes with AEW, I'm finding that I'm turning the commentating down or even off. I actually like watching Dark Elevation because you're just having, 2 commentators and occasionally a third. So it's just a personal preference thing, but I found it extremely ironic that the director of both Raw and SmackDown came out and voiced his displeasure with the multi-person booth as publicly as he did.
You know, Matt Michaels, for starters, what irritates me first off about SmackDown, I think the volume is not up enough on their commentators. I'm always kind of going, man, I can't hear, but on Raw, I really have come to enjoy listening to, I love to hear when, of course, you watch a talent, someone literally just cheat, and Corey Graves sits and tells you, well, you have to do what he had to do, or he just didn't cheat at all. I enjoy hearing that and hearing Byron just losing his mind. So,
no.
You see, I know.
No, you had it right with enjoy hearing Corey.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your take on this whole thing, man? I mean, you agree with Bruce? It should just be 2, and that's it. Period.
Well, first off, Byron Saxton is Excalibur without a mask. All right, he's just white noise. He's horrible. Get him the fuck out of there. I hate the fact that he's still on, and get rid of him.
But if he let me just, I know, continue before you continue your thoughts. So you do you believe Corey can still do what he's doing, but Jimmy would be good enough to be able to counter that? Because Jimmy don't sound like he's really taking on the play-by-play, not so much trying to counter what Corey is saying. Or you don't think Corey should just be doing what he's doing, period, as far as being a color commentator?
Did you ever watch SmackDown?
Yeah,
Corey did that when he was him and Cole.
Yeah, but I get that. But we're talking, I mean, Cole and Jimmy are completely different. Cole's
listen to Jimmy. Jimmy can handle his own, and he has handled himself with, he's not just doing play-by-play anymore, man.
I don't hear him countering as much because that's Byron's job. So if you hear him countering everything that Corey says, I just don't hear it. I'm not saying he can't. I just don't hear it a lot. So I don't know if he can.
First off, let's go to Bruce's point that how the fuck can you identify who's who? Because all 3 of them sound pretty much the same. All right. That's a big problem. But no, he's better at handling this. Get rid of Saxton. What the hell are we even arguing this? Come on, get rid of him. He's fucking awful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Bye, Byron. Thanks
Release him. Let AEW Rampage pick him
Oh
up.
no, please.
All right.
Don't do that.
Listen, I want somebody to pick up going back to Caprice and Riccaboni. Who's gonna get those 2? That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the steal. But continue.
Probably AEW. They're probably going to sign them and put them on another internet program or whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I think if you watched Rampage this past Friday, there was one moment that Jericho and I think it was Taz, they literally were telling each other to shut up. Which is just like, that's how fucking like disarray the broadcasting can get when you have especially when you have guys who, on top of they're not being a gel, now they're also like, you got Taz's fucking faction presenting a opportunity while Taz is at the table, like just kind of not really committing 100%. Wouldn't you commit to 100% that he should be, taking the opportunity? That was stupid. You got Jericho. Jericho needs to either retire from the ring for a while and just be on commentary, or retire from the ring for a while. But the truth is that, again, it's like when you have these guys who are currently wrestling, it just really kind of gets it all kind of mashed up, because in some ways they're in business for themselves. So you have like multi-layers of problems across the boards. The 2-man booth is the easiest on the ears. It worked for Monsoon and Ventura. It worked when Heaton would be on commentary with Shivani. Anytime you added that 3rd-person mix in WCW, that always seemed to take away a little bit as well. So even though you put a guy like Tanay in that position, um, it still was just a hodgepodge of people trying to get their stuff in. And um, the other thing too is that I don't know, Bruce really doesn't. I don't think he has any say over the broadcast though, because isn't that Kevin Dunn? Because technically he's the producer of the television show. Bruce is the head writer and the head booker, right? So if anyone, it'd be Kevin Dunn who could easily solve this by putting Byron Saxon on a plane and just, not telling him where he's going and take the cell phone and give him no return ticket.
Yeah.
But hey, even NXT, I think that it's great that Beth is getting the opportunity to do it, but at times I find that even with that, it's just a little too much of it's just too oversell sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because Beth is the face and Barrett is the heel. And the reason that it worked for Jesse Ventura or good heel commentators is that they had a straight by the books play-by-play person. You didn't need that that face fill-in, right? Because they're calling it by the straight and narrow, right? Come on, this, you can't be doing that. And it worked. And I think he's right about also sports broadcasts as well. You start getting 3 people in there, it turns into a lot of, trying to get your shit in.
But you don't need 3 people in sporting. I mean, what are you trying to say at a basketball or football event? Why would you need 3 people for someone to say that what happened didn't happen? And you got to treat it different from wrestling. It doesn't make sense to have that in professional sports. But in wrestling, possibly. It depends. I think it's done good on Raw. I don't think it's done good on AEW. I think it probably just depends on the relationship. That's my take on it. Okay, that's my take.
Yeah. So when did you get in bed with Byron Saxon? Jesus.
Oh.
Listen to the guy. He's fucking awful.
All right.
No, seriously. I listen. We should start our own company, and once Excalibur and once Saxon are released from their contracts, we'll hire them to do commentary, and then you can tell me why that was a great idea.
Just them 2?
Just them 2.
Oh boy, I don't want to do that. All right, let's go over into our third count, and that is coming from Sports Illustrated, which is saying AEW is proving to be the perfect home for CM Punk. All right, so I'm going to start here from the middle of the article. It says, so far, all of Punk's opponents were chosen knowing that the emphasis would be on the wrestling. The psychology and methodology Punk brings to his matches is a breath of fresh air, and he has made this run all about giving back. Quote, it's apples and oranges, but in terms of a big free agent helping change the dynamic of a company, WCW was a great company that had huge stars with Ric Flair and Sting, Khan says. Quote, when Hulk Hogan came in right away, he worked with Ric Flair and Vader. It would have been interesting had he worked with Stunning Steve Austin or Flying Brian Pillman and Dustin Rhodes and some veterans too, like Paul Orndorff, or revisiting their history before working with the top stars. Quote, I don't want to reimagine history because obviously WCW rose to great heights, but for AEW, I thought it'd be great to see CM Punk against a wide variety of opponents. And it's all about wrestling and the fans, and that's a perfect marriage for AEW. I'm expecting another great match tonight. And it also says, end quote, and Punk has found an oasis to give back in AEW. All right, guys. So since CM Punk has been back, he's had his match against Darby Allin, Powerhouse Hobbs, Daniel Garcia, Matt Sydal, Bobby Fish, and of course Eddie Kingston. Let me start with you, Sin City Steve. Would you say that CM Punk has really just been given back, or more importantly, is he doing kind of what Khan was saying, in terms of the right people he should be putting over, and it's proving to be that this is a perfect home for him versus anywhere else? What's your say?
Well, I will defer part of what you said to Matt Michaels, because
Okay.
I know how he feels, and I will let him eloquently state that. But
Okay.
it is good to see him work against guys in the middle of the card. Realistically speaking, he has worked with people that realistically, while the match outcome has not factored into things, and that's kind of why I'm leaving that ball on the tee for Matt. Those people being in the ring with Punk, who is a very proven commodity, is somebody that the fans have been clamoring to see for years. I think that by them working with him and having competitive matches, that it has helped to solidify them in the ranks of the roster. Now, in terms of the slotting, I think that was done absolutely perfectly. I don't think that he should have gone in and immediately, challenged for the AEW championship, for instance.
Okay.
But having him work in the middle of the show with largely up and coming or underdeveloped talents, or in the case of a Bobby Fish, somebody who is relatively not overly known to a lot of the audience. The only way that people knew Fish was because of his time in NXT.
Right.
Obviously you're going to have those people that did follow him, from Ring of Honor, from New Japan, things of that nature. But guys like Daniel Garcia, guys like Darby Allin, I think that putting those young guys in the ring with CM Punk did help to raise their stock. So in that view, I think that did accomplish the goal. And I have no problems with the slotting on the card.
All right, Matt Michaels. The articles is titled AEW Proven to be the Perfect Home for CM Punk. And part of what Tony Khan said during that article was, hey, look, when Hogan came in, he went right away to work with Flair and Vader. But it would have been interesting if he was working with Stunning Steve Austin or Brian Pillman or Dustin Rhodes, and some veterans too. Could you say, is that what you see now with CM Punk going over Darby Allin, Powerhouse Hobbs, Daniel Garcia, Matt Sydal, Bobby Fish, Eddie Kingston? Is that a good comparison to what Tony Khan mentions here against Hulk Hogan in WCW?
Let's just
okay. Take a breath, man. Take a breath.
You're welcome.
Here's his quote in this article. I had this date, Wednesday, October 27th, circled a long time ago, Khan says. This is our first Wednesday back from the time shifting, which was the 2 weekends, the 2 Saturday weekend shows. I intentionally booked all his television dates on Rampage, knowing that I wanted to give our fans something really special on Dynamite, and that is the Dynamite debut of CM Punk. Well, they couldn't draw 1 million, so that was really special, Tony Khan. B, Steve just called it out and said that Bobby Fish is not someone that is particularly really a household name, right? So
right.
you basically gave him an opponent that there was no setup or history for the casual viewer or the newer AEW viewer who might not be 32 or 42 or 52 years old, right?
Right.
Their demo has been going down in a weird way between the younger viewers too.
Yeah.
So ultimately, in Tony Khan's mind, he's a fucking genius. But in reality,
yeah,
if you think about what he's saying, like Hulk Hogan should have debuted in WCW against guys like Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. It's just like, what the fuck, dude? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Now, putting Punk with these guys has been that's a very good idea. But the common thread through all of this is CM Punk has not lost to a single one of those guys.
Right.
And you took a guy like Will Hobbs. Why didn't you give him some kind, even if it's not a clean pin, give him the victory over Punk? Make him seem like he is something. Like Bobby Fish really doesn't need it, right?
Yeah.
Been around for a while. He's not going to be the guy you're building up. But a Will Hobbs or a Darby Allin, yeah. Why not? What the fuck? And then CM Punk in this article, which you didn't read, has this whole thing about in 2002 how Eddie Guerrero, was released from WWF at the time, or WWE, and is making his way through this this independent promotion in the Midwest before going back to the WWE. This was right after his rehab and everything. And CM Punk was just like, man, he didn't have to do that for us, but he did that, blah, blah, blah. And the gist of it was Eddie Guerrero basically put over CM Punk. Well, Punk's not being like Eddie Guerrero. In fact, Punk actually says, I'm not saying I'm Eddie Guerrero. No shit,
right.
CM Punk. No shit. You are not Eddie Guerrero, because you're still out for one person, and that is Phil. And you know what? Good for you, man. I don't know, man. I think out of all of these signings, this one was the most problematic because of the fact that Tony's probably put some of the biggest money in him. And it looks like Punk has got a very Hogan like yay or nay on going over. So, if you really wanted to change everything, if you didn't want to be like these guys, then don't be like the guys and fucking start letting some of these young guys actually get some shine. Work longer programs too, for fuck's sake. Because so far he hasn't been working any programs longer than about 2 weeks of buildup.
Right.
Maybe
one match.
Yeah, exactly. One match.
No one's gotten a rematch.
Yeah, nothing. And then these one-offs, like Hobbs was a one-off, and we didn't even see him go any further with the Taz crew. It was just like, well, I beat that guy, so naturally I'm going to move on to someone else I can just beat, and then lower their stock in your company. And the problem isn't necessarily as much with CM Punk. The problem is that Tony Khan, he just thinks he's so fucking good at booking shit. And the honest answer is that, has he taken a stance and told someone like Punk, hey, you know what? I don't want to see you go over. I want this guy to win. I don't think he has. I don't think he has the balls to do that to his buddies. And that's what's going to fuck him in the end.
Yeah. Just to ask you guys right quick. So the article is titled AEW's proven to be the perfect home for CM Punk. Would you agree with that? It could just be a yes, and if it's a yes, then that stops there. If you say no, then tell me what would you think would have been a perfect home? Impact, New Japan, WWE, or it is. So it's just yes or no, and where do you think? Let me start with you. Sin City, AEW proven to be a perfect home. Is it a perfect home for him?
It is the best option that's available. Yes.
Okay. Matt Michaels.
So the perfect home for CM Punk would have been his house in Chicago. I honestly, I've never thought 7 years gone, and I've never once thought to myself, boy, man, I'd really like to see CM Punk back.
You know what's crazy? You a Chicago's guy. I mean, you're born. You're a Chicago guy, and you're not sold on the whole idea of him at this moment.
No.
Okay.
No, well, wait. At this moment, I have not been sold on him for years. It's
so when he was in WWE, was you sold on him?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
No,
wow.
And quite honestly, for me, CM Punk stopped existing when he left Ring of Honor. And that's it. Because the truth of the matter is that he wants you to believe that he's still that indie guy, but he's a money mark now. And that's the thing. I go back to saying this. If he was so passionate about pro wrestling, then where the fuck was he 5 years ago in ROH or in New Japan or in MLW or NWA or Impact, even, for God's sakes?
Sure.
And Impact's a stretch because that was, a little more money. But he wasn't going and like, hey, I'm going to wrestle because I love wrestling. He was holding out for someone to say, hey, we're not the WWE and we're still going to give you a shitload of money.
Yeah.
So that's my problem is I just don't think that for what he likes to portray himself as, he's necessarily been that guy to some degree. Okay. It's objective too, man. That's just an opinion. So
that's all we do, man. That's all we do. Guys, thank you for your 3 count. We thank everyone for listening to us. We definitely appreciate you. If you want to continue to support, it's a couple of ways. First thing, you can always hit up our Cash app at or money sign Vegas Badboyz with the Z. Anything that you send in, we use to help promote our podcast through social media so other people can find us and listen to us and enjoy us like you do. The other way, just continue to listen, download our program, tell others about us. I'm sure if you heard something on Cornette or Jericho show or any other, you run it, you tell that, go tell others about us. All right. And we're just trying to keep it just as entertaining as some of the others. So we appreciate you there. With that, Sin City Steve, what would you like to tell the good people out there this week?
Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you do. We do this show for you. So we definitely appreciate you, just sharing us and sharing the show with friends and family and everybody that loves pro wrestling. So
yeah.
Also, very, very special shout out and special thank you to every brave man and woman serving this country, whether you're doing it on lands both foreign and domestic. Thank you. You enable us to do not just this show, but everything that we do. We appreciate you, your sacrifice, your time, your effort, and everything. Special shout out to our boy, the Storm Mormon. John, we love you, brother. And last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all of your pre-workout, general energy, and weight loss needs. That's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
Absolutely. Thank you much for that. Matt Michaels, what would you like to tell the good people out there?
Hey, big congratulations to Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes on officially getting married this past weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
On 11/11.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you would figure that. I mean, it'd be cliche if you would have on a 420 wedding, but hey, 11/11, that's good enough.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations to you both. All right. With that, again, we appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you